Welcome to the first day of Inktober Tangles 2025. My name is Martha and I'm a certified Zentangle teacher. The first tangle of the month is called Festune, and it was created by Zentangle Inc. I'll be taking you through the steps of two different Festune tangles. One will be traditional, and we'll start off with that. And then the second one will be this variation, where I add a little bit more flair to the tangle. Let's first start off with the traditional version of the Festune tangle. We'll begin by adding a series of orbs, and you can put those anywhere you'd like on your paper. Next up, we'll start to add larger orbs around the smaller ones. So almost like a bagel or a donut. These orbs will be smushed together in some areas. You might have spread out your orbs far apart from each other so they are not touching, and then you might have some that are really close together. And for any that are very close, we want to make sure that we are drawing behind or picking up that pen to kind of give the illusion of depth so that some of these orbs appear to be on top of some of the other ones. Now take your pen and start to draw lines coming from the small center orb out to the edge. And you'll notice that I am curving the end of that line as I get closer to the edge. And that's going to give a sense of three-dimensionality to these orbs. So instead of being flat shapes, they are looking more like three-dimensional forms. And actually, when I was drawing these, I kept thinking about all those little pumpkins that I'm seeing all over the stores right now as we approach fall and Halloween. I'm going to go ahead and move forward, but please feel free to pause the video and take your time completing this portion of the tangle. And I will see you when you are done adding all of these lines. Next up, I'm going to fill in the background, the spaces between the orbs, and I'm kind of taking a gestural approach to this, so kind of scribbling in, and I'm not worrying about creating a solid black space between the areas. And the final step, I will take my graphite pencil and I'm going to start to shade the outer edge of the orb. And I'm just using the side of my pencil to kind of quickly and roughly put some gray down. And now with my tortillon, I will be blending that graphite into the paper to kind of soften up those edges. So again, this is the more traditional version of the Festune tangle. But next up, we're going to do a variation. I'm going to start by adding 4 dots and connecting them with a line, so creating that border. And then I'm going to be using a blue 01 micron pen on a gray tile. I'm keeping the orbs inside of that border that I just drew, and I'm kind of scattering them about. There's no rhyme or reason, but I will say that usually I draw odd numbers. So I think I put 15 in here. Now I'm going to start by adding the larger orb around them. And those will go outside of that border. Again, please make sure to pause this video and take your time creating these larger orbs. The next step is to begin to add the lines that are radiating from the small center orb to the outside edge of that larger orb. And to add a little bit more interest to these orbs, I decided to go back and add a little bit more weight to the ends of each of these lines. This will take some time. Don't forget to turn your tile, be comfortable, but go ahead and pause the video and enjoy the time you're taking to add even just this little extra weight to the line, to add a little bit more emphasis to that outside edge. Next up here, I'm adding more orbs. When I started to draw this, I immediately started to feel ocean vibes. So coral reef, little sea sponges. And so I'm thinking here of either air bubbles under the ocean or maybe little rocks or pebbles. So I'm just kind of filling in these orbs close to the crevices around our festoon. Some are large, some are medium, and some are small. And again, I'm just randomly placing them around the Festune tangle. And so that the space in the middle doesn't feel so empty, I'm scattering a few of those orbs throughout that middle section. I am keeping all of the orbs inside of that border area. Now I'm going in with a white 05 Jelly Roll pen, and I'm just filling in some of the orbs that I just drew. Next, I'm adding a little bit of that white to the actual festoon, and I'm just doing it in the center space, kind of radiating from that middle small orb. And I'm not completely filling in the area. It's very gestural, so just a little scribble of white on the tops of those little festoons. This pen was not cooperating with me, so I think I ended up switching it in for another one so I could get a little bit more of the white onto these areas. Next, I'm adding a little bit of some shading with a blue General's charcoal pencil. If you're doing this in black and white, just grab your graphite pencil and just adding a little rough color to that edge. And then I'm going back in with my tortillon and blending it in. Now I kind of want to bring out that original border, and I'm going to use that blue charcoal pencil to add a little bit of color to the inside of that pencil border that I drew at the very beginning. This is one of my favorite techniques when I'm doing a variation of a tangle or a Zentangle drawing, is to create a border at the start and then push the boundary using part of the tangle. So here I'm using the Festune to kind of push outside of that border, but then redraw and highlight that border. I just really like the juxtaposition between this edge that was created, but then pushing outside of that edge. So I'm just taking that tortillon and softening up that blue. I've decided to go back in and add a little bit more of that blue charcoal. The center area was just looking a little flat. So by just adding a few little areas of color and blending it in, really kind of gives this sense of depth. And then, oh, guess what? It still looks kind of empty in the middle, so I decided to go back in and add a few more of those orbs to kind of fill up that empty space. And the final step, adding my chop. And then I'm going to go ahead and label this Inktober Tangles 2025 Day 1 Festune. So there you go, the Festune Tangle, well, a variation. And then here is the traditional Festune Tangle on the left. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've got some really great inspiration from this, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for Day 2 of Inktober Tangles. Thanks!